fruitful day indeed, because we have a line of speakers who are going to share knowledge, and we're all here to learn from the same. The mission of the South India Retail Summit is to be the retail catalyst, connecting businesses, people, knowledge, products, designs, and ideas for profitable avenues of growth and expansion for retailers, brands, retail estate players, and technology solution providers, in tune with the dynamic consumer preferences and evolving retail channels and formats, building into successful partnerships for growth. And to initiate this whole day, I'd like to call upon Ms. Rashmi Nair, Associate Director, Deals Strategy, PwC, who's going to take us into understanding the new path to purchase and how the shopping behaviors are changing under research. Thank you.
Let me very quickly take you through some of the insights that we have gathered on the Indian consumer. A brief introduction about myself. I'm an Associate Director with the Deal Strategy Practice at PwC. I've been in strategy consulting for 10 years, 10 years now, it feels like a long time, and have largely focused on the retail and consumer sectors. So what you see here in terms of the insights that we have captured is threefold. One coming in from the total retail insight survey that PwC conducts on an annual basis. Also from some of our consumer interactions that we have done as part of the other thought leaderships in PwC, and also my own personal experiences as part of the projects and engagements that I have worked on. So you'd see a fair mix of insights coming in from across various sectors, and I'll be happy to take you through some of these some of my personal experiences directly even as I speak. In terms of the flow, I'll be walking you through these slides. We will be having a brief Q&A session towards the end. But in case you have more questions, queries, or just want to reach out to me, my email ID is out here. Feel free to drop me a line. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you on this. So very quickly starting, who is the Indian consumer here? So what we have done is we've built a snapshot of some of the most standout consumer segments in India. There have been various ways in which consumers have been segmented in the past. We have the socio-economic classification, we have demographics, we have the income-based classification, the standard ones used by the NCAER, starting right from strivers to globals. This is what we use, and we found this pretty much fits into a lot of consumer categories. I use the word lot, but not all, because we also need to understand that the way consumers get segmented varies across sectors. So what may be true in apparel would not be true in jewelry, for example. So, but just to give a highlight of some of the most typical consumer segments that we've seen now is what we've used. I mean, from a continuum, we have a traditional Tarun. There is the mindful Meera. There is the aspirational Aryan. And then there is the affluent Amita. And who are they? So if you look at traditional Tarun, this really is representative of a fairly significant majority of the buyers in India. It is largely, and if you look at, what is Tarun, where does he work, how much does he earn? He would typically belong to the low and middle income households. Not to say that you wouldn't have a traditional Tarun sitting in the upper income households, but as a category, as a consumer segment, this is still dominated by the low and middle income households. What do they do, and how does Tarun buy? They prefer to buy in-store. He values mainstream brands and is comfortable with unbranded products as well. Again, these preferences change from a category perspective. So there is a category-led behavior that you see for Tarun. He appreciates good service and likes discounts. How does Tarun behave when he's buying? He is somebody who prefers to buy in-store versus, and he's one of the slow movers to the entire online space. And I'll be talking more about what are these challenges that Tarun faces when he buys online. He prefers appealing discounts, and promotions and discounts keep him loyal. He he is also somebody who does not really value or does not see experience as a huge differentiator. This behavior most translates forward to even mindful Mira. Mindful Mira is somebody who would typically belong to the middle, even to some extent to the upper middle segment, typically in the slightly higher age group, so this would be a 30-plus consumer typically, value conscious. Not price conscious, mind you, value conscious. And from a life stage perspective, Mira would be somebody who has a family. Prefers to shop, so again, what does Mira do? How does she shop? She prefers to shop by herself or with family. Looks to balance quality with price. And this is where, this is the big difference between a Tarun and a Mira, where a Tarun still is highly skewed towards discount. Mira would still look at a balance between quality and price and appreciates value offers and bundling. What is Mira looking for? Mira likes an integrated shopping experience, likes convenience, is happy to try out new channels and formats and products that offer her convenience, but is unlikely to pay a significant premium for it. As you move further down the curve, you see aspirational Aryan. He is the young shopper. He is educated. He is, what we call as if I look at the millennial generation as somebody, who's born from the 80s onwards, aspirational Aryan was somebody who's actually more a 90s or 2000s child. Shops frequently and spends heavily. So this is a very good segment to tap into. But this is also a customer who's fickle, who's not very loyal. He is a frequent online shopper. So for a lot of online players, he is really the player they're tapping into, especially in Tier 2 and Tier 3 markets. Lower price sensitivity compared to the mindful Mira. Here, for aspirational Arun, brand plays a very crucial role here. So brand and quality are crucial and can often override price. Shares his latest shopping experience with his digital network with his peers, and therefore the role of linking to his network becomes very important to influence the aspirational Aryan. If you look at affluent Amita, this is the top end of the pyramid that we are all familiar with. She's affluent, working, educated, has high disposable income, part of the millennial generation, and quite often we see the status is young family. She is a big buyer, and she's in fact the segment that all the premium and luxury brands in India are chasing. But keep in mind, she's a deal seeker. She is not somebody who would be happy to pay a premium for no reason, so she does seek deals. Uses online and mobile extensively for her shopping habits, is loyal. She is likely to return to a retailer who has made effort with service recovery. And we have seen this being a key part of how retailers have been able to catch on to this customer and keep them loyal. And we see the entire service element as part of the overall experience plays a crucial role in keeping affluent Amita with you. Values the online experience and is proactive with issue resolution. So she does raise if she has an issue, and she is proactive in resolving it. It's just a quick snapshot. Again, this is not representative of 100% of the Indian population, but we see most consumer businesses in India, you would find these comprising the majority bunch of your buyers. So, like I said earlier, we've conducted a total retail survey, insight survey. The results for 2015 are just out. We are still analyzing these, but I just wanted to give you some of the key messages that we have come so far in terms of what are we hearing about through our consumer studies, and what are the messages for you? So what do you do with this? These are the 4 messages, and I'll talk you through these in detail. So let me start with 1, lead with the brand. Now, why are we saying lead with the brand? We've asked consumers, why do they shop where they do? Why do you go? Why do you shop at your favorite retailer? What is it that you like about him? Number 1 answer, no surprises here. Prices are good. And again, just to point out, over here, is this not working? From a pointer perspective, fair enough. No problem. I can use my finger. So just to point out over here, South India, if you see, has a slightly higher skew towards prices are good. Not sure what this, speaks about the South Indian consumer research, but this does align with the fact that price and value-seeking behavior is still dominant especially in the southern states. And referring to the southern states, I include the 5 states of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka. Value does lead shopping behavior, but the point to note is this does not necessarily guarantee consumer stickiness. So what guarantees consumer stickiness? The second point, I trust the brand. And this is the second most important reason of why consumers shop from where they do. I trust the brand. This could be a product brand, or this could be the retail brand as well. And this is perceived as a significant differentiator between one player versus the other. Other reasons, of course, include they offer great range and they offer variety. I get what I want when I go to my retailer. They are very customer friendly. Customer friendly not just in terms of the shopping experience I have in the store, but for example, having a very flexible returns policy. And this is, again, a big skew towards why are some of the customers seeing online as a channel, because they find the returns policy in some of these better, in fact, match or superior to their offline counterparts. This one, right? Yeah. Brand, and that's really the point I was coming to. Brand defines the shopper's experience globally. Brand consciousness is rising in India, and what is driving this? Again, if you look at the newly affluent customers, the aspirational and the affluent players, they are eager to display styles that speak of status, style, quality, the fact that they have arrived. What is also interesting, and this is something that we found out when we did a lot of analysis for some of the previous engagements we worked in, the apparel space, consumer product space, personal care, jewelry, we found this as an interesting data point, that the gap between name brands and unbranded products is much higher in India compared to developed markets. And what we also see is consumers in emerging markets like India are much more willing to pay a premium for a name brand compared to their developed market peers. Brands help advertise status, which influence how people or consumers perceive themselves placed on the social ladder. And brands are also a way for consumers to tap into a social lifestyle. And this is where the aspirational Aryan seeks, really, and this is the reason why he's happy to pay a premium for brand, and brand and quality can often override price because of the fact that he values variety. So again, when we speak to consumers, we find that 6 out of 10 consumers who fit into this category, the style conscious, the aspirational Aryan, values variety. In comparison, his peer in the developed counterpart, only 3 out of 10 value variety. And the ability to really use this variety to align to global styles. Where do we see this happening now? This is not new. Brands have always been in India, and there has always been a continuous shift. But we also see a lot of categories which traditionally have been unbranded or led by unbranded players, and we are seeing a significant shift where consumers are seeking branded players. They are seeking brands, they seek the reassurance that brand provides, and they are willing to pay a premium for it. Which are these categories? So, again, not an exhaustive list, but some of these categories that we see is, for example, precious jewelry. So if you look at a decade and a half ago, the nature and the environment of the precious jewelry market has since significantly changed. We've had a lot of local brands which started as regional brands becoming large national brands, and they become retail brands in their own right. We also see this in food. Significant shift for a lot of the, for example, in the savories category, from your unbranded players from unbranded play to branded play. Biscuits, again, is a classic example. Ethnic apparel. The rising interest and the rising traction that we see in players emerging in the ethnic apparel space speak volumes. And this is especially true if you look at within the ethnic apparel, women's ethnic apparel, and what we call as the SKD, the Salwar Kameez Dupatta segment. This is where we see great traction. So these are some of the segments where we think these are segments where there continues to be significant unbranded play, but we see greater traction and a shift towards branded. Beauty and wellness service providers and natural products. Again, natural is a classic area where people have traditionally been using at-home, local remedies, and are now increasingly moving to and seeking branded solutions for the same, and the reassurance that these brands provide. What are the implications for you? So what does this mean? As a player in the space, this is what we would ask. This is what we think. This is what you ought to do. One, invest in the brand. Investment in creating brand awareness and visibility is very, very crucial, especially in the kind of increasingly crowded and the raucous and the boisterous market that India is in. Your brand needs to be heard, seen, needs to be visible and out there. This is also interesting, an implication which comes specifically for markets in developing in Asian countries. Nothing new, again, from an India perspective, we know this, but just to highlight that one way in which you can increase brand visibility in markets like India and China is celebrity culture. Now, this celebrity could be a sports icon, could be a business icon, but people want to be like their icon, like their favorite person. And this is driving, again, a lot of the behavior that we see in consumption. And we see this increasingly, therefore, in the use of brand icons and brand ambassadors, even in newer categories. Align pricing to brand. Price and brand equity are very closely related. Customers do not associate one without the other. And therefore, it is crucial to ensure that they sync into each other. There have been often examples, and there are several examples for example, in the apparel space where there have been costly and time-consuming, it has been costly and time-consuming for players to recalibrate their strategy. An oft-quoted example is that of Marks and Spencer's, where they had to recalibrate their strategy in India because what the consumer in India associated the brand with, their target consumer associated that brand with, and the pricing that they initially offered when they came in India just did not match. It required a recalibration, it required a rethink of how they sell, what they sell, at what price point they sell. And they nearly missed a year and a half in this context. Also, in many consumer categories, premium pricing is a reflection of exclusivity and quality. So if you want to target that customer, you need to make sure your pricing aligns and conveys that image of exclusivity and quality, especially for aspiring shoppers who are looking to showcase their status. What does this also mean in terms of how do you develop your brand? I think it's important to develop a distinct brand identity and guarantee reliability. Counterfeiting is a key concern, and this is especially pronounced in several luxury and premium lifestyle categories. Customers need to be able to identify your brand correctly. Now, there have been various techniques through which people have been doing this. Again, an example, if I had to use precious jewelry as a category, is hallmarking or certification for diamonds. There are also examples where, for example, accessory players are helping them customers with in-store counterfeiting guides to help distinguish between what is a genuine luxury product versus what is a fake. This helps in assuring the customer and knowing that they are buying an authentic product, and the fact that they can demonstrate that authenticity to their peers. The second point, which is that what is the other message that we came up when we look forward in terms of the consumer insights? Integrate digital is about to. So again, most of the numbers around the online population in India, the mobile penetration in India, pretty much available to everybody. But what we see again is that the online Indian has really outpaced his propensity to buy online. So an Indian who is online is more likely to buy online than let's say his global counterpart who is online. And this again is very interesting. And here South India pretty much is in line. No significant differences here versus the rest of India. But what is also interesting is this online buyer in India, this person who is online and is buying online in India is new to the online buying experience. He is somebody, so if you look at again in terms of numbers, nearly half, 1 in 2, are customers who are buying online, who have been buying online for less than 2 years. So this is still a relatively new experience for them as well. In contrast, only 31% of the global buyers online are new to online in that way. So what does this mean? Online is not just playing a role in buying, it plays a role across the entire chain of shopping activities. starting from discovery to comparison to purchase, and then even feedback. This is, in fact, so the comparison shopping was, and I need to speak here about my personal experience. We did recently some work in the infant care and toy space. And when we were doing our store visits as part of that, we would notice something very common. We would see parents come in. They would look at, let's say, a crib or a large toy or a play toy, and they would slightly go online. They would go like this with their phone and then move to the next product. And what we found they were doing is they were comparing prices online. And this is very, very common behavior. We see this increasingly in retail stores. So comparison shopping is a way of life almost now for most Indians who are willing to buy online. And this is, in fact, so as part of a survey, when we asked, what do you do with your smartphone when you're in the store? Do you, are you looking at deals? Are you looking at peer reviews? Are you comparing prices? No surprises. Comparison shopping came as the number one factor of what people do with their mobile phones in the store. And in fact, here, South India leads the curve again. Online interactions are also playing a key role in how consumers connect with their brands. And this is a global phenomenon which is getting duplicated in India. In fact, again, as part of a survey, 59% of respondents stated that their online interactions with their favorite brand has helped them view that brand more favorably. It has helped them respect that brand a little bit more and therefore create that stickiness a little bit more. And brands cannot ignore, therefore, the power of online interactions and the power of social media. There continue to be some concerns in terms of online transactions, and this is especially true of consumers, somebody like a traditional Tarun. What are the key concerns? Payment insecurity, product inconsistency, and an inability to look and feel. And we see that traditional Tarun will be 60% more worried about this compared to his peers. And these are challenges which players are looking at addressing online. How are they doing this? So what can you do? One is the entire digital versus cash quandary which we're facing in. Security of online transaction is a concern for some consumers. There is a reluctance to share financial information online. Cash on delivery does mitigate this risk, and we see the popularity of cash on delivery in India. But this also adds to overall transaction costs. So retailers need to seek out ways. So what are the trade-offs associated with each, and how do I mitigate risk and costs associated with each? What else can you do? You can harness online. Shoppers are digitally savvy. They crave a lot of information and additional features that use technology. So mobile can really be the extension of your storefront. Apps offering consumer information, what are the latest styles, what are the merchandises, new additions which have come to the store can attract especially the high-spend buyers. What else? And I mean, yes, we talked of online, but does this mean the death of offline? Absolutely not. We think omni-channel is really is really going to get greater traction forward. We see customers expecting a unified experience when shopping across the store. For them, these are just channels to buy. These are not independent or isolated from each other. They browse online, they buy from the web, or they'll browse online, go in the store, check in the store, buy in the web. Having a seamless transaction, which would mean both in terms of the ability of the customer to access information, access prices, transact, needs to be seamless across these channels. And this information and this information flow is, again, crucial to building a stronger brand. The next point, experience matters. I know we are running short of time, so I'll wind up quickly here. But again, just a few thought points in terms of why experience matters. This is what we see what we got when we asked customers, why do you still, especially Indian consumers, why do you still go to your neighborhood store? And a significant majority did. And if you look at the top, these are all the top 4 reasons. All of these related to the great store experience that they had. And all of these are also linked to the staff at the store. So the best part of shopping is customer service. And often the worst part of shopping is also customer service. So customer service is a big part of creating either a memorable positive experience or a memorable negative experience. So it's a double-edged sword there. So how do you make it count? Having the right mix of experience levers, the layout, the way your staff interacts with consumers, look, feel, even the smell in the store can help create memorable, positive experiences and inspire customers to shop. And again, when we spoke to consumers, this is again as part of a customer interaction that we did, when we asked them, think about name your last 10 most memorable experiences, positive experiences when you shopped, anywhere. 8 out of those 10 related to positive experiences which occurred in a physical store. Only 2 were online. So creating memorable positive experiences is much more easier in the offline format. The store makes the brand come to life. And despite the rise of e-commerce, the role of brick and mortar stores cannot be underestimated. And this is again a reason why we see several online players now looking at offline or physical stores as an extension to the experience that they want to offer to the brand. An example that I would like to give here is in the context specifically of precious jewelry in India. Again, when we spoke to customers, and this was again in the context of several affordable jewelry brands failing in India, and we said, why? They're like, yeah, I can't go to a small kiosk and buy a 50,000 product. Nahi hota. I want to go to a fancy store, I want to get a cup of coffee, I want 2 salespeople to hover around me. I want that experience that conveys legacy and reliability of the brand. Who knows this kiosk will be here tomorrow or not? And we heard this quite often as part. So again, while this is a category specific, high value and high involvement categories, therefore, their store environment plays an even more critical role in conveying the legacy and the reliability of the brand. And this becomes important when you're looking at, therefore, developing your retail format, your retail layout. What do you keep in the store? How do I get my consumers to feel more comfortable in the store environment? Trained staff, we talked about the fact that staff makes a huge difference. Also, accessible product information is very critical to a good experience in a store. And in this context of accessible product information, does it therefore mean putting more people on the floor? Not really. Shoppers are happy to use digital content as part of their overall shopping experience, and which complements the shopping experience. So again, when we spoke, 1 in 3 shoppers were very happy, and this is again the context of South India. So 1 in 3 shoppers in South India believe that an online digital catalog, be it in the form of a screen in the store or tablets that the sales staff would provide, and which would help them see an extended inventory or an extended range of products, will help enhance their in-store experience. So what can you do? Just to quickly iterate the top 3 points, your staff can make or break the store experience. Training, incentive programs, and empowerment of staff is very important so that they help create those memorable positive moments which shoppers treasure and which will help create loyalty and stickiness. Using technology to complement in-store performance as well. The 4th point again connects to what we spoke about earlier when we talk about our consumer segments, that if you look at the peer network and your social group plays a big role as part of your shopping experience. Personal networks and relationships permeate all aspects of our culture, including shopping. We ask our friends, relatives where to shop, what to buy. We seek recommendations actively. And this is, in fact, very interesting. So if you look, this is part of a global survey that PwC did in terms of understanding how do shoppers in developing countries like India, how do they communicate or how do they interact with their broader environment. 3 in 5 share their good experiences with their friends and family. 1/4 shop for their extended family. They are not just buying for themselves, they are also buying for their extended family. 1 in 4 shops for friends. 1 in 3 turns to experts for advice. So what this also means is that shoppers in markets like India are more likely to go and seek advice, whether it is from their friend circle or whether it is from their extended circle of experts, compared to developed markets. So recognizing the importance of the network is very, very crucial for brands to ensure that they continue to stay relevant for consumers, especially for their target consumers. Social recommendations are very valuable. These are, again, some data points just to point out, to clearly drive out the difference between developed and developing markets like India. Shoppers in markets like India are twice more likely to value their peer recommendation compared to developed counterparts. And more importantly, your consumer, the aspirational Aryan, is also more likely to complain about a bad experience to his peers and his broader social circle. So both good and bad news travels fast among the Indian consumer set. So again, what can you do? Activate your brand advocates. In markets like India, shoppers rely heavily on their network for advice. So identify your brand advocates and keep them happy. Give them incentives, give them exclusive invitations, help them spread the word. Transform your loyalty program. Loyalty programs is no longer just about an individual. It has to be based on what both their friends and family buy as well. And therefore, creating and activating extended networks is very important in terms of building your loyalty program as well. Make the most of forgiveness. And this is very interesting because what statistics show is that shoppers in India are much more likely to forgive a bad shopping experience compared to shoppers in UK and Germany. But they're also more likely to share a bad experience that they've had with their family. So understanding how to manage these issues, how do you deal with escalation, training your staff not just to provide a good service, but also how do you manage a negative experience? How do you make sure that issues are resolved, and how do you use that issue to deepen the customer relationship? This is very important. Flip the switch for sharing. Create engaging social media platforms that amplify these good experiences. We talked about the role of the entire peer network in the context of the Indian buyer, helping your evangelist or your brand advocate share their good experiences, both online and among their peer network, is a very powerful way to strengthen brand perception without having to spend a load of money on it. These are broadly the points that I just wanted to cover. Thank you so much for letting me speak over my allotted time. Like I said, feel free to reach out to me. I've put up my contact details out here. Happy to field questions if you have time. Else, in case we're running short of time, please feel free to drop me an email with your questions, and I can just take them up individually as well. Thank you, guys.